Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm so excited to be talking about the fantastic show Overcompensating. I am joined today by creator, writer, and actor Benito Skinner, along with showrunner Scott King and music supervisors Jen Malone and Nicole Weisberg. And Benito, I wanted to start with you because I heard you say that in really trying to figure out and find the structure of this show when you were first creating it, it was asking yourself an inward question of when do I feel like I stopped overcompensating, and
Hmm.
really centering it to a female friendship that's very much your real life Carmen that we see played out in the show. And I wanted to ask
Yeah.
about how that really helped you to not only find the idea of like the narrative structure, but also really kind of the heart and the soul of what this show has become as well.
Well, yeah, I think it was the inspiration. I think it's also what tied me and Scott in making it together. We had both had, these experiences, as I think so many queer people do, of women kind of being the first people that you feel like, oh, maybe I could kind of tiptoe out of this closet, and maybe you do love me even when I, say I love Glee, or I know all the words to Super Bass. Like it's just some of those things that it kind of it was. I think, yeah, the beating heart of every episode of that relationship, but then also the complexities of that relationship, of sometimes it being me being very toxic and doing something that really hurts a woman, and also the miscommunication leading us to make decisions on both ends that really hurt each other, or even the sweetness of a girl who doesn't really know how to help a gay guy come out, so she just kind of Googles it and says, like, I guess we watch every season of Drag Race. And it's like, yeah, kinda. I don't like, maybe that's it, and getting it kind of wrong and right at the same time. It was so, I think, inspiring for me, and for Scott as well. I think, not to speak to Scott, but it's just like it was so fun for us, I think, to think of all these kind of these pillars of these relationships that I think are so integral to so many of us to come out. And also it's like when you get your heart broken, like what happens, in the show, that's who you go to. Like that is the love story. And just as I think women have allowed me to overcompensate less, I hope that, I have given them that permission too. And it being this kind of beautiful, symbiotic relationship. But yeah, I'm thinking about season two, which I hope we get to do. And it still is all of the things we haven't gotten to say about that relationship yet. What it looks like when you start coming out and then you have gay friends, and then the girls are kind of like, well, can I come? It's just all kinds of those, it's, it's just a huge part of my life. And yeah, it is the full core of this show. It's my favorite part of the show.
I love that description, and Scott, off the back of what Benito was talking about there, and just the crux of this relationship. I love that it isn't just, these two people meet and they immediately become best friends and everything's perfect and beautiful. There's obstacles, there's kind of like mini breakups that they have along the way before they find their way back to each other a lot of the times. And so I just wanted to ask about really figuring out that arc and that journey and the richness and the layers of it.
Well, I think, this is part of the many brilliant things about Benny is just that none of these characters are heroes. None of them are villains. They screw up with each other all the time. And I think that was really important to really see what that is. And that uh, ultimately we come to this place where it seemed like, oh, we're really, at the end of our season where we're there, we're happy. And then another moment of having a
Mhm.
cocktail and you just do the thing that you didn't even really sort of do, but it seems like you did, and just it gets all messy all over again. But I also say that moment at the end of five where this is my other favorite part of this, when we were in the room and Benny talked about coming out without saying a word, it just opened up so much of the show also, and that friendship sort of, then we were able to go back and forward and chart those moments in their dynamic as well, where you lie and you keep things to yourself and you overcompensate. And then there is that one person and that one moment, wherever it is. Here, it's a dramatic Halloween dance because we're gay and we're going to go big drama. Come on. But you
Uh,
just can't hold it in any longer. Anyway.
No, it's wonderful. And Jen and Nicole, in talking about the music throughout this, there's so much richness to all of the music that's in there. And it sounds like you were involved from very early stages in script development and coming on board this project, which I know isn't always the case when you come on board any project. And so I wanted to ask how the fabric of the scripts and the way that musical cues and ideas were written into it really helped, and how it was able to be so collaborative during the development stages.
Yeah, I mean, the scripts informed the tone pretty immediately. I mean, there was something sort of in every episode, 1 to 2 moments that sort of let us know exactly where Benny was and what and how important these were to the narrative. And it was sort of like our instant agenda was to get everything we possibly could. It felt really tied to story, really tied to character development, really tied to time and place without kind of being too on the nose with it. It was just like alluding to this feeling of this time period that a lot of us lived through. I mean, me living through it, it was like, oh, we got to get lucky. Oh, we got to get like everything sort of just felt like an instant. We have to get this. So it was really kind of easy to follow both Benny and Scott's lead on like what was priority, what needed to happen, and how we could kind of work together strategically to get everything before shooting even.
I love that. And, Charlie XCX is also on the series as a producer and was also involved very, very early days in this project as well. Was that something which helped with some of the conversations, music wise, or even just figuring out rights for things? Or how did that relationship look?
Yeah, I mean, having the Charlie card to play really helped us a lot, because it's always hard during a first season show when people just don't know what it is. And so, but having, Benny and Charlie as, the anchors really helped get people excited to be a part of the show. And having her throughout the process, it completely present and involved with giving really great ideas for score and transitions and everything like that was just was amazing to have that part of the fabric and the collaboration for the show in general.
Hmm. I love that. Benny, I actually wanted to ask you something in relation to your performance and kind of playing
Mm.
this character that's a version of yourself, because I've heard you describe how you looked back at videos of yourself before you came out and just looked at
Yeah.
what were my mannerisms like, what was my physicality like, and how is that different?
Mhm.
And kind of doing that as well as like training yourself back into like a very athletic structure to match
Mhm.
what the character needed in that moment. I was just interested in how those details all really shaped so much for you.
Yeah, it's funny. I think some of it just seems like gay vanity that I just wanted to like get a really good body. Like I just was like, I have to do this. But I did think like I just remembered the athletic, like I was coming to all these things as like a fake athlete of sorts. Like I trained as an athlete, and it just that was how I like entered masculinity and trying to really play this thing that I thought, and I really it was received in a way that I felt like, okay, good. I think we're passing. And so I wanted to get back into that. And it also, I think, allowed me to get some energy out. It was a lot of nervous energy of having to watch myself with this like thick neck and this deep voice that just like, also, it's so funny. It's some people, in some clips are like, the closet is glass. And I'm like, well, it always was. Of course, some people were like, yeah, fucking duh. But I would watch my voice kind of, if I was around a woman, it would start to kind of play. And I worked with this brilliant acting coach, Nancy Banks. And what we found early is like I was practicing my voice and we discussed actually it wasn't about going high or low. It was just that when I was in the closet, I just didn't allow my voice to have any play in it. There was no up and down. There was no like flair as I think there is now, just a little bit, but it was so monotone. And then but when I'm with Carmen, it was so fun to be like with Wally in the scenes and just right before I could lock in and be like, we can have more play here. And I think you even see it in the pilot, like that on in my dorm room on the bed with her, my voice can kind of play a little bit more than you've seen it the whole time. And when I'm with Peter, it's like straight across. I'm not doing any kind of flourish. But it really at first what was so cringy and hard to watch, I think became really cathartic for me. And I started to give myself some forgiveness, I think, for not coming out sooner. I had so many reasons. I think everyone has their reasons. I think that my least favorite thing I'm asked is like, don't you think that guy should just come out? It's like, if he doesn't want to, I don't think he needs to. Of course, it feels amazing to be out, but everyone has reasons, even people that aren't gay, for these performances that they do. So I think I was able to, I think, finally laugh at it and come to it with some grace. And it would be kind of fun to turn it on and be like, oh God, this is so mortifying. And see like the girls around like Wally be like, I can't watch you do this, given like who I am. And that feeling like a power over it. Yeah.
No, it's great. And Scott, you were bringing up the moment in the show where Benny gets to come out without saying a single word to Carmen, and it's such a beautiful moment. But it also comes off the back of the two of them having hit like a real low point and just finding each other in the room and realizing I need this person and I love you, and knowing exactly what I love you means in that context. And so I wanted to ask you about really kind of shaping that episode and how the two of them needed to hit that low point in order to have that moment together.
Well, I mean, Benny wrote this brilliant script. I mean, it was sort of all there, and it was all very much by design. So he can probably speak to that more than I, but I'll say that on that day shooting, it was just one of those. It was so hot in this.
Oh.
I can't describe to you.
Even in my booty shorts. Imagine that.
We went to find this, what the warehouse where we were doing this chem house party. What is the hottest structure on earth? Let's add lights, shut all doors. It was just a billion degrees. And, we had so many background actors that day. And the moment of it was all so unpleasant. And then yet a moment that I had with our director, Desiree Akhavan, so brilliant. She's a queer woman as well. And we both had our experiences. We were coming out. God knows I have been in love with so very many straight men. Still there with Lenny Kravitz. Who knows? Maybe.
Lenny, we know you're watching.
I cry every day.
Yeah.
To then realize we're getting to tell this story and to tell it in a way that it hadn't been told. And exactly what you're saying, that both these friends made choices that didn't work. They both got hurt at the same moment. And then they were there for each other. So I don't think I answered your question, but I did get to, again, shout out Lenny Kravitz. So I get it.
So mission accomplished. Yeah. That scene was like it was so, I think that's when, you really think that's when I think I was hit with so much gratitude for the people that I've chosen to do this with. Scott and Desiree and the cast, and doing that scene with Wally, because it was based on a real experience, and it was so. I was talking to someone recently, and he was talking about how he had a very similar one where a guy was offering him weed, but he didn't know. So the guy was like, "Have you ever done it before? Like, would you like to try your first time with me?" And he's just like that gut feeling of like, God, it's so close, and and there's something so, I felt sick that whole morning, but then I think then after it, you're like, oh God, we got to tell this and we're allowed to tell this. And I think that I was like, God, it does feel like we really fucking nailed this feeling that so many people have in their coming of age, of putting your heart or acceptance in the hands of someone else, and they can't give you what you want so bad. And then now I keep getting tagged in like fan edits of it, and I'm crying in a Starbucks, like, you can't fucking do that. They're like adding Party for You to it, which I want on record. We tried that Party for You clause. It had to be clause. We've tried everything. It had to be clause. We already used for Party for You. So I just want that on record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also just to really shout out really quickly, we work with some great editors this season, one of which Todd Downing, who I worked with so many times. Brilliant. When we shot it both with the crowd, without the crowd. And then it was, days of trying, let's try, the crowd is there, then they're not, then they're there. It was, anyway, just getting that choreography correct was, and with that song, anyway.
And that was we had a master playlist that we were all kind of working within that is so, like, we should release it. We should put it on vinyl, because this playlist slaps so fucking hard. It was like a collaboration with literally like Jen, Nicole, Charlie, George Daniel. I'm like, I listen to it every day. and that was so fun too, because we had this and we were all coming up with these ideas, and it was so fun to then watch these cuts of the episodes where the editors were then had kind of tried a lot of things, and it just felt like this beautiful collaboration that we could pull from, I think, all our experiences with this music, and obviously with Charlie's music. She's just been so sonically impactful for 10 plus years. So it's like that too. It just was like the greatest treat to see what had been added like that. Watching the first cuts of the episodes was like, I'm like, I wonder which songs made it in and which songs work. And it was so, yeah, it was delicious.
I love the idea of using a master playlist as well. And Jen and Nicole, one of the things that's so great about the music in this show is you've made really fantastic choices and placement of songs that build in the fabric and the feel and the tone of the show. And then there's obviously other moments where you have to kind of think very specifically about a song that is central to a scene, having Britney Spears' Lucky or having Super Bass, where it becomes a central character almost. And so what was that experience of kind of working and going through all the scripts and figuring out the fabric of the background music, and then also those key moments where it was a central character?
I mean, Benny scripted in a lot of music that really helped inform the overall sound and tone. But again, it's really a collaboration. And when it comes down to like which song works, we give options, but then it's really Benny and Scott that decide, yes, this is the one, this is the winner, or can we hear some more? Or what about that? So it's very much like you guys, like Scott was saying about how to edit that scene. It's very much, I would say, the same with music, but the script really informed us of like, okay, this is the story and this is the tone. And so we're going to kind of get all that music from that time period and then just be able to offer different ideas and different viewpoints. But when it came down to it, it's Benny's story, and, you guys were the ones that, that made those final decisions. And we were able to, do our magic in getting everything cleared and everybody on board.
Enough cannot be said about that
crazy.
magic. Like, to be that talented, to know every single song, but then also to be able to get songs there's no way we should have afforded. And it just, you two are there. It's incredible.
Insane. It's what's brought up to me the most, honestly. People are like, end of 5, fuck you, cliffhanger, fuck you. And then they're like, what? The soundtrack. But it would be so fun, because this was also my favorite thing, because when you're working with Jen and Nicole, it tastes on a different level, but then also like we're able to tap into this time period and have fun with us with it too, which was like so, I think, cathartic for a lot of us and triggering. But to then watch an episode and be like, I would, email Jen and Nicole. I'm like, you did not put Uffy pop the Glock when Carmen goes to the fucking library. Like, we are locked in, like that. It's those things, or I just want to shout them out. I think the so brilliantly and masterfully done is what is playing in the Idaho bar in the 7th episode. I mean, I think there's so much emotion going on in that scene. So you can't go too like country music big, and probably all those songs would be really expensive. And it's like, I don't, that feels kind of like it's in the background, and that seems kind of crazy to spend that money in that way. But I remember watching that, and instead, Jen and Nicole kind of chose all this like indie kind of like surfer pop rock that's playing in the background. So it still feels like a bar, but then the music is still sweet, and really fantastic songs are in it. It's just like, that's why you work with geniuses. That's crazy.
That was all Nicole. That was all Nicole.
Crazy. It's just delicious.
They needed a tonal.
Exactly. And then what is it? Surfer Blood, right?
Yeah.
God.
But also stuff that wouldn't overpower, what was coming next, So and also staying in the time period.
Mm-hmm.
I think was also really important to us to serve you guys with the story. But that was fun, especially waiting for, leading up to the big My Chemical Romance moment.
Yeah. Oh, it's so, yeah. Because if it was like, full, like, or just kind of like all royalty free, I don't know. You want to feel it's such a balance. It's like, that's, yeah, it's just brilliant.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about the use of My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade, because it's such a great choice because of everything it tells us about Grace as a character, that's her
Mhm.
karaoke song and the song that really expressed who she was before she went to college. Was that always the song in the script, or was that something that you all collectively found?
Yeah, we were writing that, we were about to pitch for that episode. And originally I had this idea that maybe like Benny would sing Hello, Adele. And, and so it was like, and then I was like, I don't think this is Benny's. I'm like, there's something more he needs to do. I've already performed Nicki Minaj. Like we've already done that. Like I can't do both. Sorry. Maybe season two, but then I knew that we were heading into a story. Scott and I were writing that episode, probably my favorite episode to write. We just had like so much fucking fun. We wrote it in Miami, like, and I think you can really feel that. But I remember I was on the treadmill one day just doing my steps, and it was raining in LA, and that song came on shuffle in one of these like master playlists that I had kind of like crafted with this team of that time period, and these songs that I feel like were really core, but also, Wally Barham pointed out to me recently, she's like, everyone has like a private relationship with that song. Like no one was blasting that at a party with friend. That was like headphones on, private. And that song came on and I was just like, Grace is doing this. Like this, I have to see Mary Beth sing this. And it was like also the story of like when I was a young boy, like that, also telling the story of Benny and Sammy too, in this kind of triumphant moment. It's like, oh no, I'm not singing Adele. Like I'm making out with a guy, and Mary Beth is on stage going feral, and it just, I think the response to that scene is like one of the things I'm most proud of, and also just getting that song, like that was something where, Scott and I with Jen and Nicole were like, these 8 songs that are kind of the names of these episodes, this is like a must. Like we have to get these. I can't imagine that anyone could give them harder songs to get cleared on Earth. They're kind of like, great, like, oh, perfect. But they did, and it's been so, seeing those songs like kind of pop back up. What a gift. Yeah.
I mean, the clearance process is always so involved and so in depth, and it's not always the same way that you get this song that you got that one. What were some of the journeys that you went on in order to be able to secure some of the songs, especially knowing how pivotal some of them were to particular scenes like that?
George of the Jungle was
Oh,
hard.
I can't. Sorry.
That one
Oh.
was really tough. But what was great was one of the so I can't remember what year the song was written, but the for half of the publishing, it was the wife of one of the writers who had passed away and she was 80, and I actually worked with her daughter to kind of explain this whole process because they just, they're not in this world. And then the other woman who controlled it was her grandfather who wrote it, who I had actually hunted down for a song in another show that took me weeks, and looking at obituaries and comparing photos and going on whitepages.com and making really weird random calls like, hi, I'm wondering, are you the grandson of, so but that's what we had to do because we also knew how important this was. And sometimes we like the hunt and and the detective work, but a lot of the songs just needed to be handled with care when clearing, because we wanted to make sure we got them, but also we wanted these artists and songwriters to be excited to be a part of the show and not just like signing off like, yes, okay, what's the payday. We wanted them to be excited about the story that we were telling, and that was, I think My Chemical Romance definitely had that vibe of like, we're excited, when is this going to run, when are we going to see it, when are we going to see it. So I can't remember what were some of the other songs that were, I mean, outside of George, was anything else
It was really like not, I don't want to say easy, but because of the way that the story was involved with the use, it was very much, I feel like, from the heart for pretty much every clearance. It was kind of, we were able to explain that, and like the uses, I mean, like Edge of Glory was a big use, the Lady Gaga use, and just sort of getting down to like why we were using them and what was really going on in the scenes. And then like occasionally we would ask Benny to write a personalized letter to even like explain it further. But I mean, it was the response was excitement, and I would say like things cleared faster than on another show typically. Like we kind of approached it with like we really want this, but without, showing too much, but just kind of like this is really important to the story and this is why, and people were excited by it. I mean, they're really compelling uses. It's not just background sources, it's tied into story, and we're able to explain that in a way that got people excited. So I think that was kind of like the people could feel the heart of the show and like trust Benny's reputation and Charlie's reputation to know that it was only good intention. Like we're not making fun of these songs. Like they're like special, like Super Bass is like from the heart, and even like a G6 is like hilarious, and just I feel like people could just see what was happening. It wasn't like this just plays in the background at a party just cuz. Like everything had a purpose and a role in telling the story.
It's wonderful. And Benny and Scott, Benny, you were talking about the Idaho episode where, Grace is reclaiming herself on stage singing karaoke, and then Benny's in the bathroom making out and he's having his win. And it's really beautiful to watch them both have that win together. And we were talking before about, Benny and Carmen having a low point at the same time. But then there's also moments where it's like, well, what does it mean if Benny's having a win, but Carmen's having a low point and not doing okay? Does that make her feel even more isolated with what she's going through? And so how did you find that constant structure with all of your characters of this is where we want them to have a win, this is where we feel like they need to have an obstacle, and maybe this person's here and this person's here?
That's such a great question. I feel like, we went with what felt honest in the kind of story of the character and the arc. So it's like, even, if my coming out story could kind of match a little bit of Carmen's confusion and her wearing like a floral romper to a Charlie XCX concert. No one's really pointed out that we dressed them all like bridesmaids at the concert, but it's ultimately my favorite thing in the show. Like they have like flowers and like braids.
Yes.
It's insane, and full like wedding glam.
Brilliant hair design.
Unbelievable. I'm like, it's like one thing we kind of whispered. We were like, it'd be funny if they kind of like just don't know what to wear to a concert because they don't listen to live music. But yeah, I think something like Grace it was really tricky because you're also telling like a network and producers like it's a slow burn, just trust us. But I'm really glad that they did, because I think no one was expecting it, and that's what we wanted. And no one was really expecting in that moment for Carmen and Peter to see each other. I mean, Party for You's playing, so something's about to go down, but it is like I don't think people really saw that one yet. And I think that was also something in the room. We were like, if it feels right, like we're not saving anything, nothing is promised in TV. And also in college, things move fast. And it felt like if it feels right in this moment, let's do it. Like Benny and Carmen's friendship, we've solidified it. Let's fuck it up with a lie about titty fucking. I never thought I would say titty fucking so much in my life. And then I made this show. So I'm sorry to everyone. But yeah, and kind of also Peter, I find, this might be my big take, but I find that when women are rising, men are declining, that they naturally don't like that. And so I thought if Grace is going to be up here, Peter will be down here, and there's friction there. Because if she's too high, if she's at the Charlie concert, he would need to bring her down. Like so that was something that was kind of interesting to track in kind of toxic relationships that I've witnessed or talked to friends about for a long time, and been the Carmen to them in those moments. But yeah, I think, yeah.
And even to that too, one of the few moments in the series so far where two characters are sort of at a similar level are when Peter and Carmen come together, and yet they're playing the most violent, misogynist video game in the world, so that's still in there too, so that it's never just sweet. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And you've all done such a phenomenal job on this first season. So fingers crossed for season 2 for all of you. And thank you so much for talking about it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.